Teachers, what are your reactions to being called mum by students? I take it as a compliment. When it happens, some think it's wildly funny and we have a good laugh, but others are horrified. Heck, I actually got called dad just the other day, equally flattering. Often a student will call me mum by mistake, so I just pretend like it doesn't happen so it doesn't embarrass them too much. Though one time one student, M16, called me mum and then later told me he loved me. I reported that to my senior team and was no longer allowed to teach him alone. Small school and sometimes he'd be the only student in the class. Can you open my milk? Mommy, I'm not your mom. Ralph. I'm Miss Hoover. I work with teens. It does happen. It's easy to laugh off. I sometimes answer yes. Son, daughter was called gran once. That was worse. My little brother used to accidentally call me mum all the time. I used to get really embarrassed if he did it in public, even though I was 13 and he was 6, so it'd be highly unlikely that someone would actually assume he was my kid. I was 6 and my sister was 15 and someone thought I was her daughter at the skating rink. I'm pretty sure it bothered me more than her, seeing as I still remember it all these years later. I was just a little bit perturbed by the implication that my sister gave birth at the age of 9 lol. One year, I had one of my seniors call me mom and the moniker just stuck because they all thought it suited me. So for that entire year, my students called me mom. It was very sweet because as the year progressed that's how they saw me. Many of them came to me with problems, cried on my shoulder, and now that they have graduated, I hear them scream, mom, when they see me shopping. I always thought it was sweet. I taught middle school. The boys got embarrassed when they did it. I teach middle school. It happens. I've been called mom more often than dad, though. This is odd because I am a male. I think it's less about the gender and more about the role. Mums are usually the go-to in the house for everyday help, as are teachers in the classroom. I love how a teacher has the Reddit username Squirrelovic. I usually laugh a little and move on. I'm an ESL teacher and I had one incident when a child called me mom in his native language and then corrected himself by saying oops, I mean mom in English. Everyone found it more amusing that he corrected the language and not the fact that he accidentally called me mom lol. It was what finally made me feel like a real teacher. This is the real answer. You're not really the teacher until you achieve authority level, mom. Yup, throughout my schooling years I've elevated many teachers to reach mum status, though I completely stopped once I reached high school. But some of my classmates continued to do so. One even bumped the pay teacher to daddy status. I always reply with yes my son or yes my daughter and we all have a giggle. Well, as a male teacher, my line would probably be not quite. I called my male teacher miss once, but he was cool and made a joke about his pink shirt before moving on. A girl in my class called our male teacher gran once. I'm a daycare teacher and my students are toddlers. So far, none of them have called me mum. There's a baby in another class that has become extremely attached to my coworker and has recently started calling her mum. Like calling out mum to get her attention or when she needs comfort. It was funny the first couple times, now we're just worried she'll do it in front of her parents one day. My students are toddlers is such a weird sentence to me. Using teacher in that context is just something that's not done in German. I'm a kindergarten teacher in Austria and I've definitely had kids call me mum, although mostly the really young ones, which is funny as a guy. Not mum, but a female student I teach adults once called me by her boyfriend's name, who happens to look very similar to me. She was incredibly embarrassed. I ignored it. The rest of the class found it hilarious and mocked her for a week or two. Not my story, but in 7th grade my friend's mother was our maths teacher. At school she'll call her mom though. One day she called her as mom and everyone started laughing. We knew it was gonna happen but didn't know it'll happen twice. Her mom didn't even care though. She just went on taking the lessons. We had a laugh out of it for some months. A student I was reprimanding argued back saying mom, but and I cut her off saying that's it. No dinner for you tonight. Haha, I actually did this to my male 60-something grade 6 teacher, and he put on a squeaky voice and said yes, dear. Due to my age and COVID, I don't have much experience, but it happened to me as a trainee teacher. I found it incredibly sweet. We both laughed it off and kept going. Then she added that she wouldn't mind having 2 mums, her real one and me. To this day, I can't tell if she meant it or if it was a joke. Anyway, I told her that I was too young to have kids of my own, but that I'd like to have a daughter like her someday. I still remember her cries when I had to go back to uni and she realized she wouldn't see me again. She definitely will remember you, and it most likely wasn't a joke. I do hope she remembers me. I remember her laughter. A very sweet, funny child. I'm a teacher and I'm just back from maternity leave. I called myself mummy in class. My niece called me mommy for a couple years. I'm her uncle. These magnetic tiles are very popular in our house, with a 4 and 10-year-old. I laugh a little and continue the interaction. I've even been called dad twice, but I still take no offense. Just means dad's the one they usually ask for help from at home. The only one I correct is if they call me a previous teacher's name, but I always do it gently with a smile. Called my 5th grade teacher mom on accident. She said I'll be your mom if you want jokingly, although I was seriously considering it. Looking back, she was one of the most influential teachers in my life. She passed a couple years later of cancer. Why did this question just put me in an emotional time machine? May her soul rest in peace. It just takes one simple nice gesture from a teacher or any elder with influence over a child for that matter, and the kid's going to remember it forever and will learn a lot from it. Be nice to kids.